Mia Lawson returned home after a grueling day at the architecture firm, her hands still covered in the dust of blueprints and models. She was ready for a quiet evening, but the 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test sitting on her bathroom counter shattered that expectation. Her breath caught. This was supposed to be a moment of joy. Her heart raced as she called Daniel Morgan, her longtime boyfriend and the CEO of a thriving tech company. "I have news," she began, her voice trembling with excitement and nervousness. Daniel, however, didn't mirror her enthusiasm. Instead, his words came out cold and calculated. "The company is expanding," he said, avoiding her gaze when they met at their apartment later that evening. "I'm moving to Singapore next month. We finalized the merger." Mia's heart raced. "So we'll move together?" she asked, desperately clinging to a thread of hope that this wouldn't be the end. "Oh," Daniel replied bluntly, "I'm marrying Celia Wu. It's strictly business, part of the merger deal." The words hit Mia like a physical blow. Daniel, the man who had once promised her a life under the stars, had chosen power over love. "I'm carrying your child," Mia said, her voice cracking. "Does that mean nothing to you?" Daniel's response was devoid of emotion. "You'll be taken care of. My lawyers will contact you tomorrow." And with that, he walked out of her life. Left standing alone in their apartment, Mia clutched the pregnancy test like a lifeline, the silence around her so heavy it felt like the walls were closing in. But as the shock wore off, a resolve began to form within her. She would not let this betrayal define her. For her unborn child, she would rebuild. She was Mia Lawson, an architect not just of buildings, but of her own destiny. Mia couldn't sleep that night. Her mind kept replaying Daniel's words, his indifferent tone, and the way he had walked away without a backward glance. The man she thought she knew, the one who had shared late-night dreams of their future, was gone. In his place stood a stranger who had chosen business over love and family. The next morning, reality came crashing down. Daniel's lawyers contacted her, delivering an offer that was as cold as his parting words: a generous financial settlement, the apartment, and silence. The contract explicitly required her to keep the pregnancy quiet and to avoid any public connection to him. Mia's stomach churned at the thought of signing it. She confided in Sophie Bennett, her best friend since college. Sophie, a fiery freelance writer with a sharp wit, showed up at Mia's door with a duffel bag and a determined look. "Pack your things," Sophie said. "You're staying with me." Mia hesitated, her pride urging her to refuse, but Sophie's persistence broke through. "You're not alone in this, Mia. Let me help you." Over the next few weeks, Mia adjusted to life without Daniel. Sophie's small apartment became a sanctuary where Mia could think clearly. She threw herself into her work at the architecture firm, determined to finish a major project she had been leading, the design of a children's community center. But Daniel's betrayal had left scars deeper than Mia realized. One evening, she tried to return to their shared apartment, only to find the locks changed. Her joint bank accounts had been emptied. Even her personal savings were inaccessible due to Daniel's influence. She broke down in the elevator, clutching the cold metal railing as the weight of her circumstances pressed down on her. Sophie found her the next morning, curled up on the couch, pale and shaking. "He can't do this to you," Sophie said fiercely, placing a steaming cup of tea in Mia's hands. "But he has," Mia whispered. "Then we fight back." Sophie's declaration was the spark Mia needed. Together, they combed through legal documents, contacted local charities for temporary support, and spent late nights strategizing ways to rebuild her life piece by piece. Sophie even started researching investigative pieces about corporate abuse, determined to expose the truth. Mia's resilience grew with each passing day. Though she couldn't see a clear future yet, she knew she had to survive, not just for herself, but for the child growing inside her. One morning, Mia woke up to the first fluttering kicks of her baby. Tears filled her eyes as she placed her hand on her stomach. "We'll be okay," she whispered. "I promise." From that moment, Mia's purpose crystallized. Daniel had taken her past, but he wouldn't define her future. For her child, she would fight, she would rise, and she would rebuild. Mia Lawson threw herself into her work, finding solace in the precision and focus her architecture projects required. The children's community center she was designing had become more than just another job. It was her lifeline. Every sketch, every model, and every meeting reminded her that she was capable of creating something lasting, even as her personal life felt like it was crumbling. Her pregnancy progressed quickly, and while the challenges mounted, so did her determination. Morning sickness struck her during client meetings, and swollen feet ached after long hours standing at drafting tables, but Mia refused to let it slow her down. She was fighting for more than just herself now. Sophie remained an unwavering pillar of support. "Eat," Sophie would insist, sliding a bowl of soup or a protein bar onto Mia's desk whenever she seemed too engrossed in her work. "You're building a future for 2 people now, not just 1. By her 7th month, the community center project was nearing completion. Mia had become a fixture at the site, inspecting every detail to ensure it was perfect. The center was designed to be a safe haven for children, complete with vibrant classrooms, a lush outdoor play area, and a reading nook that captured Mia's own childhood love for books. But the physical demands of her work began to take their toll. One afternoon, as Mia stood on the scaffolding reviewing a final blueprint, she felt a sharp pain shoot through her abdomen. She gasped, clutching the railing for support. "Are you okay?" a concerned contractor asked. "I'm fine," Mia lied, though her face was pale. She knew it wasn't fine, but she also knew she couldn't afford to stop, not yet. The pain subsided, and Mia pressed on, determined to see the project through. 2 weeks later, just days before the community center's grand opening, she went into labor. It happened at her office. Mia was putting the finishing touches on a presentation for the center when a contraction hit her so hard she doubled over. Sophie rushed her to the hospital, but the baby was impatient. Leo Lawson was born in the early hours of the morning with a full head of dark hair and a pair of lungs strong enough to fill the entire maternity ward with his cries. Holding Leo for the first time, Mia felt an overwhelming wave of love and relief. He was perfect. In that moment, she made a silent promise. She would give him a life filled with security and love, no matter the obstacles. The grand opening of the community center came 2 weeks later. Mia attended with Leo swaddled in her arms, earning applause and admiration from the attendees. As the ribbon was cut, she felt an immense sense of pride, not just in the building she had created, but in the life she was beginning to rebuild. Leo quickly became the center of Mia's world. Between late-night feedings and early morning client calls, she found herself marveling at his insatiable curiosity. He reached for books before toys, babbling as if he had a million ideas to share. Watching him grow gave Mia strength. She began to see every challenge as an opportunity to teach him resilience. Mia's career also flourished. The community center project garnered widespread acclaim, leading to new opportunities and partnerships. One day, she received an email from an international firm requesting her expertise on a similar project in another city. It was a sign that her hard work was paying off. At night, when Leo was asleep, Mia often found herself reflecting on how far she had come. Daniel's betrayal no longer stung the way it once had. Instead, it became a distant memory, a chapter that she had closed. Her life wasn't easy. There were days when the exhaustion felt insurmountable, but Mia had built something far more meaningful than she ever thought possible. And as she held Leo close, reading him bedtime stories about brave adventurers and grand architects, she felt certain that their story was only just beginning. Mia's life flourished in the years following Leo's birth. Her reputation as a talented architect soared, and her designs for children's community centers became renowned for their warmth, creativity, and functionality. Leo, meanwhile, was growing into a bright and curious boy, whose intellect often left people in awe. But while Mia was building a new life, Daniel Morgan's world was falling apart. The merger with Celia Wu's company had turned sour. Their marriage, built on convenience rather than love, unraveled quickly. The business deal that Daniel had sacrificed everything for began to crumble under the weight of poor management and mounting scandals. Within 3 years, the company declared bankruptcy, and Daniel's name became synonymous with failure in the tech industry. When the news of Daniel's downfall reached Mia, she felt no satisfaction, only a distant pity. She had moved on, focusing entirely on Leo and her career. Yet Daniel hadn't forgotten her or the son he had never met. One day, as Mia prepared for a ceremony honoring her latest project, she received a message from Daniel. It was the first time he had reached out since their separation. "I'd like to meet Leo," the message read. Mia stared at the words. Her emotions conflicted. Part of her wanted to delete the message immediately, but another part of her, one that valued honesty for Leo's sake, hesitated. After all, she had always told herself that Leo deserved to know where he came from, even if Daniel had failed them both. That evening, Sophie found her sitting on the couch, the message still open on her phone. "Are you actually considering this?" Sophie asked, her voice edged with disbelief. "No," Mia said firmly, "but I needed to think about how to explain it to Leo when the time comes." The ceremony the next day was a grand affair. Mia arrived with Leo, now 5 years old, holding her hand tightly. The audience marveled at Leo's curiosity as he asked questions about the building's structural design and environmental sustainability. In the crowd, unnoticed by most, Daniel stood near the back of the room. He watched silently as Mia and Leo received the applause they deserved. Seeing his son for the first time, Daniel felt a pang of regret so sharp it left him breathless. When their eyes met across the room, Mia didn't look away. Instead, she gave him a look that spoke volumes. This was the life she had built without him, and it was stronger than anything he could have imagined. Later, as the event wound down, Sophie leaned over to Mia. "He left," Sophie said. "Good," Mia replied, her tone calm. Daniel's redemption was his own journey to make, but Mia had no room for him in the life she had created. Leo was her future now, and every step forward was for him. 2 years passed, and Mia Lawson's career reached new heights. Her innovative designs were being implemented in cities across the country, earning her numerous accolades. But despite her success, her most fulfilling role was as a mother to Leo. Now 7, Leo's intellectual gifts had become undeniable. He devoured books on physics, architecture, and mathematics, often surprising even Mia with his insights. Then came an invitation that marked a significant moment in Mia's journey. She was to receive a prestigious award for her contributions to community-focused architecture. The ceremony would be held in New York City, where industry leaders and influential figures would gather. Mia decided to bring Leo, determined to show the world the foundation of her success. As the ceremony unfolded, Mia felt a deep sense of pride, not just for her work, but for the life she had rebuilt. The host introduced her with glowing praise, highlighting her resilience and innovation. Mia walked onto the stage with Leo by her side, holding his hand. The audience erupted in applause as she began her speech. 2 years ago, Mia started, her voice steady, I stood at a crossroads. My world had fallen apart, and I faced a choice: to dwell in bitterness or to rebuild with hope. Today, I stand here with my greatest creation, not a building, but my son, Leo. The crowd cheered as Leo stepped forward to present her with the award. Into the microphone, he said confidently, "My mommy is the best architect, and she's teaching me how to build amazing things too." His words brought the audience to its feet in a standing ovation. Among the crowd, Mia caught sight of Daniel sitting at the back of the room. His face was a mixture of regret and admiration. She hadn't known he would be there, but his presence didn't faze her. Mia was no longer the woman he had left behind. After the ceremony, Daniel approached her cautiously. "Mia," he began, his voice low. She turned to face him, her posture strong and unyielding. "What do you want, Daniel?" "I wanted to say, I'm sorry for everything, and I'd like to be part of Leo's life if you'd let me." Mia paused, her gaze steady. "You don't get to walk back into our lives just because you regret your choices. Leo has a father, Mia. I'm the one who stayed. I'm the one who fought for him. He doesn't need anything else." Daniel's shoulders sagged, but he nodded. "I understand." As he walked away, Mia turned to Leo, who was busy charming a group of architects with his ideas for futuristic buildings. She smiled, knowing that their future was brighter than ever. Mia had rebuilt her life not on the ashes of her past, but on the strength of her love for Leo and the dreams they shared. Together they were unstoppable, building something far greater than any structure. A life filled with resilience, purpose, and hope. The lights of the conference hall reflected off the polished glass plaque as Mia Lawson stood beside her son, Leo, now dressed in a perfectly tailored suit. He adjusted his tie nervously, his young face glowing with excitement. The announcer's voice echoed through the room. The Margaret Hartman Award for Excellence in Community Architecture goes to Mia Lawson and her son, Leah Lawson, for their groundbreaking collaboration in sustainable design. Applause erupted as Mia and Leo stepped onto the stage together. Mia smiled warmly, gripping the microphone. "This award isn't just for me," she began, her voice steady. "It's for every parent who has faced adversity and found strength in their children. Leo has been my inspiration, my partner, and my greatest teacher." Leo beamed and leaned into the microphone. "And my mom taught me that the best things we build are made with love." The audience rose to their feet, clapping and cheering as mother and son shared the spotlight. After the ceremony, Mia and Leo wandered through the city streets, hand in hand, the cool evening air wrapping around them. "What's next, Mom?" Leo asked, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Well," Mia said, squeezing his hand, "the world is full of challenges, but together we'll keep building something beautiful, one dream at a time." As they walked past a construction site, Mia glanced up at the skeletal framework of a new building against the night sky. For a moment, she thought of Daniel, of his empty promises and the empire he had tried to build on fragile foundations. But her heart was light. She and Leo had built something far stronger, not an empire of steel and glass, but one of love, resilience, and hope. Together, they were unstoppable. 2 years had passed since the award ceremony, and Daniel had worked tirelessly to prove he had changed. Starting from scratch, he threw himself into nonprofit projects, supporting children and underserved communities. Every week, Daniel sent a letter to Mia, not to ask for forgiveness, but to share what he had learned and the values he hoped to pass on to Leo. At first, Mia remained silent, refusing to respond, but as the letters continued to arrive, she began to see the sincerity in Daniel's words. He was no longer the cold man who had walked away, but a father trying to make amends. Daniel also took small steps to connect with Leo. He started with thoughtful gestures, sending science books Leo loved, wishing him happy birthdays, and quietly attending events where Mia allowed his presence. One day after Leo's science presentation, the boy grabbed both his parents' hands and said, "Dad, can we go for ice cream, all 3 of us?" Mia hesitated, but seeing the hope in Leo's eyes, she nodded. It was the first time they sat together as a family in years, and in that moment, Mia felt the faintest glimmer of possibility. In the months that followed, Daniel proved himself not just as a good father, but as the supportive partner Mia had once dreamed of. He began helping her with architectural projects, using his connections to secure funding and support. Gone were the days of selfish ambition. Daniel had become a man of integrity and humility. One late evening, after Leo had gone to bed, Daniel sat on Mia's couch, his hands nervously clasped. "I know what I did in the past was unforgivable," he began, his voice low, "but I'll never stop trying to make it right. Mia, I want us to start over, not just for Leo, but for us, if you'll allow it." Mia looked into his eyes and saw the sincerity she had once thought was lost forever. "Daniel, you hurt me more than you'll ever know. But Leo deserves a family, and so do I. I'm willing to try again, but you need to understand. This is your last chance." Daniel smiled, tears brimming in his eyes. "I promise, Mia. I'll never let you down again." A year later, under the gentle morning sun, Mia and Daniel stood side by side with Leo as they cut the ribbon for a new community center, a project they had built together. Leo, now a confident young boy, eagerly explained his ideas to the gathered crowd, detailing the vertical garden and outdoor learning spaces he had helped design. Daniel stood beside Mia, giving her hand a gentle squeeze. "Thank you for giving me this chance," he whispered. Mia smiled, her eyes shining with happiness. "Our family has been through so much, but now we're stronger than ever." That evening, as the 3 of them sat on the rooftop watching the sunset, Leo turned to his parents. "Mom, Dad, can we work on another project together, something even bigger than this center?" "We'll make it happen," Mia said, holding Leo's hand in hers. She glanced at Daniel, who nodded with a smile. Because as long as we're together, we can build anything. Under the starry sky, the three of them stayed close, dreaming of a future filled with hope, love, and all the incredible possibilities waiting ahead.